Welcome to FreightWaves Now Friday edition, coming live to you here, 4 o'clock, top of the afternoon to Eastern time. We are talking all kinds of interesting things happening with volumes, with freight rates, with wait times, especially with a focus in the Chicago area. We are going to be visited by market expert Robbie Crossland. He's our research market expert. Also, Zach Strickland making a quick sighting to tell us a little bit about head haul. So as we look at our giant index here, as we are in HQ2 of FreightAlley, very exciting. These 6 foot size visuals that we have, and today's a good day for us to not have to talk weather without Chief Meteorologist Nick Austin, because there's not a lot happening after the bomb happened of the blizzard happened in the West and broke apart in the Midwest. Now, not as much to talk about, more of a non-story, thank goodness, not a lot of disruptions. What we also have pulled up here simultaneously with the weather is the head haul index. And here to talk to us about it, Zach Strickland.
Yeah, so the head haul index, just to remind everybody out there, is the measure of balance in each market versus outbound and inbound loads. So it's the outbound load volume minus the inbound load volume. Anything represented in a blue means that there's more outbound than inbound loads. So if you look at these darker blue shades, those are going to be extremely head haul markets. They're going to have a lot more outbound than inbound. And these reds, you're going to see a lot more inbound than outbound. We call those backhaul markets. Phoenix, Nevada, Northern California, traditional backhaul markets. Something that we've noticed over the last few days, however, is that some of these markets are starting to wake up a little bit. Atlanta actually moves into a backhaul scenario every now and again. It's a more balanced borderline market. That means that they are a consumer market as well as a producer. But Atlanta is starting to be blue again after spending a little bit of time in the red over the past month or so. This is a good sign because we're waiting on these spring volumes to kind of really start picking up, and the southern tier of the country is really where we start to pay more attention to, and this Dallas market is another one that we're looking for to kind of start producing here in the next couple of weeks.
Interesting big key market areas that are head haul in places that we're seeing: Harrisburg, Joliet, Atlanta heating up, right?
Yeah, no, these are like carriers' favorite spots to go. I mean, these are the big markets.
Thank you, Zach Strickland, making a surprise appearance for us, talking head haul indexes. And now we're going to, look up a little more closely, microscopic view at what is happening in the Joliet area. Joliet being Chicago, we're talking freight rates, we're talking wait times. Robbie Crossland, welcome.
Hey Chad, how are you doing today?
Doing great. What do you got pulled up for us here?
Well, I've got the DAT Van Freight Index for the lane from Chicago, Illinois down to Atlanta, Georgia. An interesting fact to look at here is at the start of the year, we were just over $2.40 a mile, and now we have plummeted all the way down to $1.78. Now, some of the factors that tie into this is there's just not as much freight out there to be moved in the current market, as well as the less amount of loads you have, the more competitive that the carriers are going to get on their rates, which is, again, $1.78. It's the cheapest that we've had in well over year-over-year numbers on this particular lane.
I see, yes, you have this very popular lane pulled up of Chicago to Atlanta. Our index looks from October through March. Boy, was it the rate? Were the rates a lot higher in the fall, wasn't it?
It definitely was, and as you can see, we had the typical trends around peak time, Thanksgiving, holiday. Then you had a little bit of freight pickup again there, right around towards the end of December, actually. And as you can see, it has done nothing but plummet. We're all the way down to, again, $1.78 a mile, and it doesn't look like the bottom has been found yet.
That is something that we seem to be seeing not only, of course, here in Chicago and the Joliet area, one of our big key market areas. We're also just simply seeing it around the country. So it's a microcosm of what we are seeing across the nation. Here, what do we have pulled up? We have the OTVI pulled up, the outbound tender volume index. What do you have it cross compared with?
We actually have it cross-compared with the wait time for a driver from either getting loaded or getting completely unloaded. So once the driver arrives to the shipper, once he backs into the dock door, that is when his time starts. And currently in the Chicago market, drivers are having to wait on average 165 minutes. Over here to the far left, you'll be able to see our current wait time in Chicago is 165 minutes. And does that sound high to you? What are you thinking about that?
It sure sounds high to me. If I'm sitting there waiting over 2 hours to just simply offload the thing that I have hauled for whatever the distance is, I think I would be pretty upset. It's interesting. Volumes are, they are plateaued here. It appears in the Joliet area, and yet when does it look like the detention times really began to increase? It looks like February is when shippers really determined that they're just looking out for themselves.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. Again, how much volume you're trying to move out of a certain facility. If you're moving reefer freight, is the reefer already pre-cooled by the time they enter the dock, or do they have to wait for that to happen? So what I would suggest to all the carriers out there, if you do experience detention time, make sure you have your times in and out written on your BOL or POD, and to get it signed off by someone at the shipper. That's going to help you get paid quicker on your detention time once you turn it into your customer or your broker.
Okay, yes, because detention times, it's not fair to have to work for free, and we, don't want to have long detention times. I think that we have one other index pulled up. It is the detention tree map here, detention minutes.
Again, kind of showcasing our mega screens that we have here. This is a detention wait time. Looking at a tree map version of it across the entire United States, with green being a market that is actually increasing in detention time, and the red shades are actually showing markets that have detention time that's actually going down.
And the grayish, bluish is staying steady.
Correct, that's exactly it.
And so unfortunately, we have a very green tree map.
That definitely is, capacity is slowly starting to trickle out of the caves that they were hiding in for winter, and as a result, spring is starting to spring, and everyone's trying to get all of their product moved from point A to point B, and it looks like maybe a little detention time out there on a national page looking at it.
Well, thank you, Robbie. All right, well, one of the things that we are tracking for you, like last year, we were looking at the capacity crunch and what was it like to be a shipper of choice, and did it seem like everything was going to be cooperative? Well, it's looking like once again, it's in the shipper's court and detention times are out of control. How can we be in a cooperative relationship? How can drivers be paid when they are in detention time? We are tracking these things and what is happening in the freight markets and the industry each and every day. Thanks for tuning in to FreightWaves Now. You can find us on FreightWaves.com and on Twitter and social media. Share the love, and we will see you next week. And don't worry, be happy.